You build a brand for the people, and every single thing that you do includes them. Like asking them questions all the time, getting their feedback, and not necessarily actioning everything that they say, because I don't think that's healthy and good for a brand. But we have cups named after our community. We have colors named after our community.
G'day, I'm Lockie, and welcome to D2C Slingshot, a podcast where we interview brand founders and industry experts to help you out on your own journey, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. G'day guys, welcome back to the D2C Slingshot podcast. Today I'm joined with Sandy, the owner and founder of Luxy Cup and Peekapoo, so a pretty special guest here today. You just want to give yourself a bit of a background story.
Background story. Like Luxy and Peekapoo, these are like my third brands that I have kind of brought to life. These are probably, I've had a couple of Tesco's before these guys. I actually don't have any formal training in business at all. I'm an interior designer by trade. I have also had time in sales, but I just think that this is where I always belong in I basically am very good at creating just brands. I think my superpower is essentially just knowing what people want, speaking to them on a level that makes them I just think that's my superpower is just knowing people, and so bringing people brands is what I do.
Yeah, for sure. And that definitely shows and reflects in the brands that you've built for yourself. Like, this is some of the best branding that I've seen. And I look at websites every single day, and I think Luxy Cup is like one of my favorites. It's just everything that you do with it. I've been following you for over 4 years now. So to see that glow up over the years, it's been really exciting to watch your growth over those years. And did you have any design experience? Like, did you do that in high school, or is it just that creative flair that comes to fruition?
Yeah, it's just that creative flair. I just know it's just what I'm kind of good at without actually having to try. So thank goodness I have that little flair. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And branding's more than just creating a visually good-looking product. I know you have an absolute cult following, especially for Luxy Cup. Do you want to touch on how you've been able to curate a community that is so loving of your brand?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I've actually just put together a masterclass because I've been asked about this all the time, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not really good at that. I don't know what you're talking about. But then I really check in and I tune in. I'm like, I have done so well, very naturally putting it together. And I think this is a little insider thing. I think I struggled a lot in school having friends. Like, I was caught in a situation when I was in infants and primary of being like the third wheel. And so having friendships and having connections was something that I didn't really naturally learn through, childhood. And so in my adulthood, I actually have to try, and I am very intentional with relationships and friendships and how I show up. So I think that really came through the brands where, that little, wouldn't say fault, but that childhood experience has come through as being one of my best assets now in business. I think that there's a billion things that I really could talk about when it comes to creating a cult brand, but it's essentially you build a brand for the people, and every single thing that you do includes them. Like asking them questions all the time, getting their feedback, and not necessarily actioning everything that they say, because I don't think that's healthy and good for a brand. But we have cups named after our community. We have colors named after our community. The language for our community is the girls. Like, we call them the girls. It's always like, oh, what will the girls want? Or do you think the girls will even like this? Or should we ask the girls? They are not spectators in Luxy Cup. They are team members. I think that makes a massive difference, because I think in the social media world, you've got two types. You've got these very pretty, very edited brands social media platforms, feeds. It's so very pretty and perfect and nothing's out of line. But then you have Luxy and it is messy. It is chaotic. Like it's not pretty. It's just this feed of like the customer. And so people really like, oh yeah, like I want in. Like I want in on this group here, and it doesn't feel like they feel like they can come in and not be spectators. That makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And one of the things that I remember you for, like, or why I followed your journey for so long, is because you do those daily team meetings on your Instagram stories. Do you want to just touch on how that's impacted your business and possibly like helped like create that community around your product?
Yeah. I think also too, like there's part of social media that repulses me. Like that part that is like, oh, look at my perfect world with my perfect car and my perfect holiday and my perfect, like it there's a part of me that feels very revolted by that behavior. So when I jump on social media, I'm just going to show up. Like, you will find me most mornings in the bathroom doing this, like the Luxy staff meeting, and I have no makeup on. I'm doing my hair, and like, our place is always chaotic and messy, and it's not perfect. And I show up. Sometimes I'm crying. Sometimes I'm like excited. Sometimes I'll tell you that I'm flat out so anxious this morning. I'm not really sure what I'm talking about, but I just show up every single day exactly how I am for the day. I don't try to sugarcoat anything. And so during that staff meeting, like I'm going to tell you what's happening. Maybe we've had a manufacturing hiccup. Maybe our products are running late. Maybe we're sold out of something and I didn't realize, or maybe there's something like our customer knows every single part of Luxy. So again, they're not a spectator of like this perfect product or company. They're like, oh yeah, we know that they're had troubles with it. Oh yeah, that's coming in like a couple of weeks. SL told me, like, we keep people in the know and they love being a part of, they love it.
Yeah. And did you listen to Gary Vee at all when you were first starting your business? Because I feel like you'd be his perfect student because you show up every single day and no matter what's going on, you're always documenting the process.
Yeah, I actually don't. I know of him, but I actually haven't. Um, I'm not very good at, yeah, I'm not very good at being told what to do. Like if someone said like, go listen to this podcast, I'd be like, okay. But I have, I always am just like, I haven't actually heard what Gary Vee says, but I'm sure he's incredible. But I feel like every single thing that I do in both brands is like by intuition. Does this feel good? Yes, no. What am I going to say today? It's like this download of like, I do everything from a very energetic perspective, and it actually annoys the crap out of our marketing team because they're like, SL, like you need to be strategic and you need to be like 12 months planning. And I'm like, like I really rely on how things feel. Um, because I know that market like strategy is really important, but I also feel like when you're tapped in to intuition and like, oh yeah, this feels good to do this feels good to say that, this feels good to release this, then things actually work more magically. Like if you're guided by intuition as opposed to like, you must do XYZ. I'm not very good at like doing XYZ. I'm like, I'm going to go with my gut because that feels good.
Yeah, and that's probably why you're such a good cult leader as well, because you're going with that intuition all the time and you're not as strategic or rigid in your processes. So showing up every single day and showing both sides of the story, the good and the bad, it helps build that community and relatability as well in that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about your carnival launch. I know you mentioned this morning on your stories that it's been a pretty successful launch and possibly your biggest ever.
Yeah, so ever since, I mean, I'm such a small timer in business. Like, what, Luxie's 4, she's so young. But I do feel like we have been through a lot. Like, we launched barely like a couple of months before COVID happened. And then COVID was what, in my eyes now, very smoke and mirrors, very delusional, really can't take stats or like benchmarks or anything from COVID because everyone just went from zero to hero, and if you're already a hero, you went from hero to superhero. Um, so now when it comes to into this, like, say we're riding off the end of COVID, the retail market is different. I don't care what anyone says. So we're just trying to now build a brand that feels really solid, um, and learn how to be very adaptable. Do you know? Like, so Carnival is our first launch that we've done that is a pre-order exclusive only. We've never done that before. However, we need to be really ninja like when it comes to cash flow, and we only want to buy what we can sell right now. And so, yeah, this pre-order approach feels really fun. Like, yeah, I guess there's a lot to say in that sense, but yeah, Carnival has been successful because, and also too, because Luxy Cup is such a collectible addiction for so many people. It's good for us because they ain't gonna miss out. Like, they don't want to miss out on a single color. Um, so yeah, Carnival has been great for that.
Yeah, for sure. Why did you go down that pre-order route? Is because you were having trouble forecasting and benchmarking off those COVID results, and is that why you decided to go down that pre-order route?
Yes, 100%. Like, and I don't want to speak like it's negative, but right now the economy is not even a freckle of what COVID was. And like COVID, like I said, COVID was out of this world, and it's not out of the world. Like, people aren't spending money like it's out of the world at the moment. I'm sure that will change, but I think that it's important for businesses to survive. Business can't continue like it was back in 2021. Like, we're in 2023, it's different. And, Luxy will survive, but we also want her to thrive. Like, we don't want to just like survive this season. We want to thrive this season. Then what are we going to do? Like, let's bring out more limited editions. Let's give them stuff that they really can't miss out on. Let's do smaller drops, those type of things.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really effective moving forward. Like, I've had a few clients recently come to me and say, like, look, we might have to cut our marketing budgets. Like, things are looking like super, like it's like declining, and it's just because of the markets at the moment. And they're going, oh, we're falling, but they're comparing also to COVID. I'm like, that was such an insane period. Everyone went from like zero to hero, like you said, and we're coming off the other side of it. And a lot of businesses are behind. So if you're a business out there that's possibly like plateauing at the moment, like that's a good result at the moment, I feel. And that's like, I'm speaking with brands every single day, talking to my clients and other agency owners, and they're all experiencing the same. People are trying to cut costs now, and it's not just their households, it's also the businesses and their marketing budgets.
Yeah, I think what so and I think COVID and like pre-COVID, whatever you call it, that saying to a friend yesterday, like, I want my companies to have such a solid foundation, have such awesome processes that I am not influenced by a pandemic. I'm not having dopamine hits from a huge influencer. Like, I want really good steady sales consistently, because having like riding the wave of what we've just been through in the last 3 years, that is some scary, delusional, unrealistic things, and I feel like that can mess with you. Like, my gosh, imagine if your mental health rode on and your self-esteem rode on what your figures were in like 2021 and what they are now. Like, and I don't say it very lightly, like, people would be feeling pretty crappy. Like, they're like, oh, what did I do? Like, I'm so crap. Like, my business is so shitty. They'd be thinking stuff like that, when really we just got to build these really strong foundational brands, and we can ride this and not be heroes through it as well. Like, if we need to cut marketing costs, cut marketing costs. If you need to negotiate smaller MOQs with your factory, like, negotiate negotiate, because you're here to survive and thrive through this and not keep playing the game of what it was back then. I know we're very focusing on that, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel like that's a really good point to, yeah, negotiating, trying to protect your margins however you can, doing pre-orders if you have to, just to survive, and then come out the other side and ride that wave, because things will bounce back as they always do. Now,
Mm.
obviously, we're talking about the bad a fair bit at the moment, and I know obviously you've got a very good positive cult following, but I'm sure there's also the flip side of that, the negative cult following. Like, how have you dealt with social media hate, and how has that affected you both personally and as a business?
Yeah, I think it's yeah, like we had an incident, I can't remember. It was a few years ago, 2 years ago, and yeah, we were copied by a company, and I very bravely, very naively was like, "Oh my gosh, guys, look at this company. They've literally copied our product." And it was like buy product from us in pieces, and we later found out that it's like sent straight to China that says copy this but not this. Like, that's how very raw it was. But in that 10 minutes of like, oh my gosh, my community went nuts and their community went nuts. And then there was a lot of hate, but then, man, it actually makes my heart race a little bit just talking about it. But yeah, it went so dark for me. I had people even in my community going, "Oh, Estelle, like, you should just be happy that someone else is creating a zero waste product. Like, just be happy for them." Like, people were mad. Like, and when I say people, I'm talking about like 0.00001% of people were like, "You're a bad person for exposing these people who did a really bad thing to you." Like, it was so messed up. However, the weeks that led after that incident of that very, very chaotic time, it was so dark for me. I think I can't even explain it, but just shame. There was pain, there was hurt. And yeah, like, I have to admit, like, I still see my kinesiologist about being able to remove that trauma from my body. So yeah, sometimes it's really amazing, but yeah, when you're showing up every single day and you're speaking from the heart, even now I get trolls. Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah, I swear every business that has like been bootstrapped, they've been copied at some stage. You know, there's so many horror stories out there. One that I really remember is there was a brand which got their product copied, but the brand that copied actually like just copy pasted their like privacy policy or their label that they put on the product, and it still had the brand that they copy's logo on it. And I was like, what the hell? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many different stories out there, and yeah, being able to deal with hate as an entrepreneur and posting videos, like, that's vulnerable, and most people can't even post a video to social media. Most people can't even listen to their voice recording when they're sending it to their mates because they don't like the sound of their voice. So it is a very vulnerable place to be, but putting yourself out there, it's obviously helped you grow Luxy Cup to where it is today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as much as it's painful, and like the other day, I was in the shower and I was having a cry, and I was like saying to my husband, I was like, "Andy, like, our mums and dads just had to put like a like an ad in the paper. Like, these days we have to get up every single day, sometimes twice a day. You have to show up enthusiastically, happy, joyful, have something really interesting and engaging to say on social media. Like, it's a lot." But that's where it's at. So that's what we have to do.
Yeah. What else are you doing outside of showing up daily on your stories and on your Instagram? Are you doing much email marketing, Facebook ads, Google ads? Like, what's the whole marketing strategy look like? Or is it a lot of it built off that cult following at the moment?
Yeah, my cult following is so powerful. Like, it's so powerful. Our most powerful asset is our private Facebook group. So we have it's called the Luxy Lounge. There's over 5,000 members in there, and you whisper something in that group, and it's very powerful. Let's just say that. Next powerful thing would 100% be our email marketing. email marketing, and then yes, we do have Google ads, Facebook ads. Um, we don't pay for ads on Pinterest. I would like to start doing that, but we just have scheduling, so there's always something going to Pinterest. And influencers too. Man, oh man, they don't work as much. They don't work like they used to work, and I really wish that that wasn't the case. And maybe I need to adjust where I'm looking or what girls that I'm working with, what people that I'm working with. Yeah, we're just really sticking to Google, Facebook, email, obviously social media, and then our Facebook group as well.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of brands are currently focusing on that retention marketing. So, one, you have that Facebook group, you have that email marketing. Also, Google, people are searching for Luxy Cup or other like reusable coffee cups and stuff like that. So, I feel like there's been a big shift from acquiring customers, Facebook, TikTok in those COVID years to more retention marketing, keeping what you already have. And I
Oh,
feel like that's a really good for you guys because you can release colors and all sorts of different designs that people just grab as soon as you whisper in, say, that Facebook group.
yeah, the one thing that on that I feel like right now anyone can create a product. Everyone has thousands of followers. Like we really can do anything, but at the end of the day, like if Facebook was to close down or Instagram is changes its algorithm, I feel like nothing really is yours except say your mailing list and like your really really strong followers. And that's where the attention needs to be. Like you need their email, and but you also need them to really love you, and that be when they love you, that's because you're vulnerable, you're really speaking to them, because nothing else even really belongs to you. Like
Yeah,
even
like Facebook ads are just selling direct to consumer. Like it's not really building that relationship unless they go to your Instagram profile and then they start watching your stories, and that's where that relationship building happens.
yeah.
Now, you also mentioned that obviously you're in the trenches for like the previous few years, packing orders and stuff like that. But now you've recently transitioned into a more of a creative director role. Do you want to touch on how you came to that decision and what that move has been like for you?
Yeah, that's a funny one because I feel like now I'm out of it. I'm like, what was I thinking? I think that actually, and I'm not, I think actually me being in the trenches, dispatching and being in customer service, that actually was so critical to our cult following. Like, might seem little, but like I know every single customer's name. I know exactly where she lives. I know exactly what cup she has because I've packed her 56 orders over the last 4 years. I know what her Instagram profile looks like. I know how many kids she has. Like, I know everything. And I really could not have done that without communicating with her through customer service, and then also knowing her and writing it and writing her name and writing the love letter. So as painful as those couple of years were, I'm all over it. But now obviously Andy was like, you're out of here. You are not welcome back in this warehouse ever again. So he basically booted me out, and he took over. We have a team that does our customer service now, but they still just sign off as me. They speak like me. They follow all of my Instagram stories, so they know exactly what I have been saying, have said. They're up to date with everything. And then my girls in the warehouse obviously just write beautiful love notes, and they're pretty good. So yeah, now me being a creative director is just so much fun. Like so much fun. Now for a girl who couldn't delegate packing an order, now I'm just like, oh, delegate, 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 delegate. I'm delegating that, delegating that. Like I'm delegating.
Yeah. And how did you come to the decision to move into that creative director role rather than like product development or even logistics and stuff like that?
Because all that stuff sounds really boring. No,
Yeah,
that's
that's
just
the
what
exact conclusion I would come to as well.
yeah.
But
Oh,
some
I don't
people they are that like more logistical minded and like talking and negotiating with manufacturers and stuff like that. So
100%.
obviously, yeah, you have that bit of a branding background or have been designing your own products for the last few years, so it was just a seamless transition for you.
Yeah, and I think again, like I just know how to build a brand, and I feel I would be so wasted trying to understand logistics or anything like that. That's not where my strong suit is at all. Yeah, Andy, I'll ask Andy. I stupidly ask Andy what he did for the day, and then he starts talking to me, and then I fall asleep. I'm like, oh. Sorry, I didn't mean to ask you that question because it sounds very boring. Can you not bore me with the details? Can you not bore me with the details? It's too boring, babe. But yeah, creative director, that's just what I do. It's just color, what the customer is seeing, what the customer wants, giving her what brings her some joy. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, awesome. And you're also bringing some joy at the she.com awards. You're speaking at that event. Do you just want to quickly touch on that if you can?
Yeah, Lisa asked me to speak about community. I'm really excited about that. I mean, obviously I'm a little bit nervous, but I do think that being able to teach people how to cultivate like a really strong community, like that's really powerful. Yeah, so
Yeah. Have you done much public speaking before? Is this the first time?
yeah, no, I speak fairly regularly. I've done my own speaking events, but I've spoken for the Noosa Council. Where else have I spoke? Having a complete mind blank. Yeah, speaking is what I do. It's definitely why I'm here. Anytime that I see like an angelic reader or someone who is like energetic or my angel, she's like, you are here to speak. Like you need to speak. You're here to speak. So yeah, it's my jam.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's good that you found that niche.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up today, do you want to leave the listeners with any sort of special hacks or tips or even some motivation?
I feel as though that Luxy or my brands would not be where they are today by following a very cookie cutter, you do X, Y, Z. I honestly believe that we know everything. Like we know what our brand needs. We have this guidance, like, and I know this sounds spiritual, but it is, but it isn't. We all have this journey in front of us. We just kind of like need to keep stepping. And I think when we look outside, oh, okay, that person's going to teach me this, and that person knows what color to bring out, or look, I'll just get this AI to create this copy. That's fine, but that stuff is not going to be magic or going to work nearly as effectively if you just like shut up, get quiet, and listen to what you're meant to be doing. I just feel like the more that you as an individual can get quiet, can meditate, can write, the more downloads you get from spirit, universe, whatever it is that is higher than you, those are the things that are really magical. That makes sense. Like, I know it sounds very spiritual, and I'm not being spiritual here, but it's
There's definitely something out there because like most of my best thoughts are even in the business, like some of my best thoughts are one as soon as I wake up and I think about like the dream I've had, or like it's before I even turn on my phone, like I'm just thinking with myself or in the shower or on the toilet, just those quiet spaces away from your phone, away from your emails, Slack channels, all the news feeds that you could possibly be scrolling. I feel like that's where a lot of your best ideas do come from, rather than listening to some random guy speak on the internet.
100%. It really is those special downloads that make the magic happen. And when I'm talking about magic, I'm talking about like launches that you could not have fathomed, or an influencer to pick up something. Like you couldn't have dreamt that stuff up, but that was something just going, hey, like contact this person, or maybe you should just like reach out to this person, or maybe you need to go there today, or maybe, there's those little messages that you listen to, like your intuition, and following them. That's what I think creates really strong, cool brands, and not going, okay, we need a logo and we need this and this is going to be like this. That's just like textbook. It's so boring. Yeah, that would be my advice. Just stick to your guns.
Yeah, cool. So thanks so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this episode and I'm sure the listeners will get a lot out of it as well. So yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Lockie.
Well, there you have it. Unfortunately, this is the end of the episode, but if you're looking for more, be sure to find more episodes on the platform you're viewing on, or head over to Instagram to find tons of valuable clips.